this man just said the tenderness of him, mistaking him for some Wagyu. And the lines that preceded this line basically was talking about Drake. So that brings me back to the ultimate title of this live show. Ladies and gentlemen, is Kendrick comparing Drake's meat to Wagyu? Food for thought, man, food for thought. Now, of course, with those sentiments from a while ago, as when it comes to the podcast, I have a lot of different insights on the music industry, but that was just one of them. I had to let y'all know because I was thinking to myself, hold on now. We all know that on the track with Kendrick Lamar and SZA, more specifically 30 for 30, Kendrick was throwing undeniable shots at Drake, calling him soft, telling SZA that he thinks that Drake looks cuter than SZA, basically saying you messing with people that thinking they cuter than you. The tenderness of him, mistaking him for some Wagyu. Now, I don't know about y'all, but as far as Diddy type beat, that is in line with those sentiments because, hey, yo, like, what are you trying to say? You think you compare Drake's meat to Wagyu? Anyways, so obviously you heard the tidbit right there. But with that being said, in more serious news, we have to talk about how the GOAT, the mascot of hip hop, of course, Drake Graham, has another win in the courtroom when a lot of people thought that because of the petition being taken away from iHeart and from Spotify that he wasn't still going at UMG. Just to put it in layman's terms, all of those petitions was ultimately to get more people involved as far as looking at the actual documents when it comes to payola and things of that nature, which is why even though the petition was removed, specifically going at iHeart, the latest lawsuit involving UMG still names iHeart multiple times throughout the entire thing. Now, I will say, as far as him taking the petition away from Spotify is no longer in the lawsuit as far as them being specifically named, but iHeart is still being named in the lawsuit even after the petition was taken away. So what am I talking about? Drake earning another W in the courtroom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you asked, as Drake had a legal victory over UMG in a Not Like Us lawsuit. If you don't know, he's suing for payola and defamation. And essentially why I'm saying he got a W is because Judge Jeanette Vargas, hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right, ruled against Universal Music Group's motion to delay discovery in Drake's defamation lawsuit. Now, what does this mean? UMG was trying to postpone certain things so that they could get their ducks in a row. And guess what? The judge was not having it, as if you don't know, UMG was actually found, they wasn't found guilty, but they settled for payola in the past, if I can find that right. So in the past, this has been a problem before, as UMG settled on a payola case, which technically means they're not guilty, but you know, in the courtroom and a lot of things that happens in the midst of it, as far as the terminology, makes you understand that sometimes if you think you're going to lose, it's best to just settle and not deal with the headlines guilty, right? So anyways, UMG settled a payola case back in May 11th, 2006, where they agreed to pay $12 million to resolve allegations that the company provided bribes such as vacations and electronics to radio stations to increase airplay for their Fast forward to April 2nd, 2025. I wonder what Drake is suing about. Anyways, so Drake's legal team, led by attorney Mike, I don't even know how to say that last name. Now Drake's legal team can obtain sensitive UMG documents, including Kendrick Lamar's, I forget his name, my fault. Kendrick Lamar's record contracts and executive compensation deals. As when it comes to the background of the lawsuit, when UMG was talking about how they was promoting Kendrick Lamar's track, artistic expression, and how Drake's team came back and said that it was defamation. Basically, when UMG allegedly conspired with Spotify, they're saying that they artificially inflated Not Like streamers, right? So that's the main thing when it comes to the payola side of things. And then the defamation is a whole nother side of the equation. So both of them is very prevalent throughout this entire lawsuit. And when UMG responded, which shameless plug, I broke down the entire lawsuit. So this is not going to be as in detailed as far as that breakdown, because there wasn't another 60-page lawsuit to go over. It was really announcement. It was just an announcement that Drake won a victory in the case to get the ball rolling instead of it being postponed. So, okay. March 18th, 2025, I covered the entire response as far as the lawsuit when it comes to UMG firing back at Drake. But interestingly enough, they was focusing on the defamatory part for majority of the lawsuit. They didn't really go into detail with the payola things. And it was very interesting as nowadays, when you look at it, and the key developments is Drake's team being legally allowed to access 18 sets of internal UMG documents. You're probably wondering, what is that? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm glad you asked. So anyways, Kendrick Lamar's contracts, they get to look at that. Their agreements with UMG, they get to legally look executive compensation records for Interscope CEO John Janik for the past 5 years. The courtroom basically said, I know he said we heard you like, but we heard you like to look into contracts too. So here you go. You know, we heard you like to be the hip hop Karen. We heard you like to be the blue collar snitch. We heard you like to be a lot of things. So guess what? You get to snitch away and we'll give you all the access to do it. So as far as discovery requests, it was granted, and that includes Kendrick Lamar's contracts and agreements with the UMG, executive compensation records for Interscope CEO John Janik for the past 5 years, marketing and promotional plans for Not Like Us, UMG's communications with the Grammys and the Super Bowl regarding the track. Drake's team said, if we're going to snitch to the full extent. And the judge granted it. More Judge Jeanette Vargas, which is probably going to get a track named after her, even after this whole thing is settled, if it goes similar to how Drake had Brian Still on the Some Sexy Songs For You album, as a, you know, he had a whole entire track titled right after him. So anyways, that's all the discovery. Well, the last part was details on UMG's enforcement of copyright restrictions. So as far as them being legally granted access for all of this discovery, it's a huge W, because it's basically the court saying, if you have nothing to hide, then let him look at the documents, and more importantly, let him actually deep dive into contracts, and more specifically, your communication with the Super Bowl and the Grammys. It's almost like Drake's not coming. He's coming for everything. All right, my fault. I'd be dramatic with that. So as far as the time frame for discovery, both sides have 1 week to agree on a timeline. If not, they must notify the courts. Man, this sounds like a sounds like baby mama drama. Anyways, discovery is expected months due to negotiations over document access. So even though they're legally granted by the judge, there's still a lot of things that have to go into effect, and they're saying it will take months due to negotiations over document access. Also, when it comes to artist safety concerns, Drake has claimed that UMG prioritized profits over artist security. And if you don't agree with that, I covered this back in May 7th, 2024. There was a whole entire shooting at Drake's mansion. Why did people forget about that? Because they love to call him a certified lover boy, certified PDF, instead of actually realizing all of these false claims, all of these verbiage, white tank, size 7, Kendrick, my fault. Vitriolic attempt to take away Drake's perception led to his mansion. Now, of course, when it comes to Drake's mansion shot at, you can't directly tie it to Not Like Us. But what is, a rap battle happened, and in the midst of that rap battle, really in the crowd, Drake's mansion got shot at. I wonder why that happened at that specific time, rather than months or years or even before or after, right? So with that being said, that's basically what Drake is claiming, that UMG prioritized profits over artist security. Also, when it comes to citing the May 2024 incident where a security guard was shot outside of his home shortly after Not Like Us gained popularity, that's exactly what I was just talking about. Also, when it comes to UMG's counter argument, because when they countered their lawsuit, that's back in March 18, 2025, when I covered them firing back at Drake via their own 60-page lawsuit. At this point, I done read a whole Harry Potter book full of court document details, and it's at some point we got to get the ball rolling. I don't know how many 60-page lawsuits I could fully just digest. Pause. UMG came back and said that the diss tracks are a core part of hip-hop culture, and legal action against them could impact artists. Now, I'm just going to leave it like that and let you understand that UMG is basically telling, hey, We've never seen this in hip hop. Why are you snitching? Like, it was one of those very key moments. UMG had the pulse of the culture and their entire lawsuit as far as the rebuttal. They was like, hold up now. You're a hip hop artist and publicly lost, right? Saying you got to deal with that, because ain't that what hip hop is all about? So they're very confused, which is why they say that this legal action could impact artistic expression. So as far as people wondering what are the future developments going to be, there's going to be discovery. UMG is expected to limit the scope of Drake's document requests, even though there's a reason and doctors hold a certain status. And so it's a lot of loopholes you have to go through, a lot of educational routine go through to be able to fully understand what's entirely happened. So when it comes to a judge granting Drake's team access, and then you hear, oh, UMG is expected to limit the scope, best believe that is when the lawyer talk comes in, and that is out of my realm. So I don't know how they're going to spin it to limit the scope of Drake's team's request, because once again, they were granted access to internal UMG documents and Kendrick's contracts and agreements with UMG, executive compensation records for Interscope CEO John Jay past 5 years, marketing and promotional plans for Not Like Us, UMG's communications with the Grammys and the Super Bowl regarding the track, and also details on UMG's enforcement of copyright restrictions. Ladies and gentlemen,
you know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, look at the state of hip hop. Like, what's going on?
So they're basically going to go to the fullest extent of the law, limit Drake's team's document requests, because now, even though they was granted access, they're going to try to find some loophole to stop, basically the limit. Continuing that, future developments will also include oral arguments for UMG's motion to dismiss are scheduled, and that is scheduled for June 30th, 2025. Like I said, when they say it's going to take months for all of these negotiations to go down, it's going to take months. When it comes to the lawsuit outcome, it could set a precedent, because like I kept saying, when Drake referred to the red button, it ended up putting it out on For All the Dogs as far as the deluxe edition. Drake is inherently pressing the red button, because if you don't know, if Drake ends up winning this lawsuit, it's going to change the landscape of how we view battles, because now people are going to always use the caveat, well, the biggest artist in our genre ever sued after he lost the rap battle, why can't I? And that's going to open up a whole can of worms that want to, as far as the history of hip hop. Like, just imagine if Jay-Z knew that these type of legal tactics could have been taken after losing the rap battle. The things that Nas may be in prison to this day, I ain't gonna lie to you. If Jay-Z had, basically, if he did not care about public perception to a hip hop artist, and he went to the fullest extent of the law to have a Nas, all I'm saying is Rock Nation is very powerful, and it's not because Jay-Z was smart and just a couple, right? That man is cerebral to the point where Nas would have definitely been behind bars if Jay-Z was these type of lawyers to go at Nas when it comes to defamation. So that is why I say, when it comes to hip hop, I'm not a proponent of defamation lawsuits. If you lose, I don't enjoy how Drake is going about suing Kendrick. Like, in all intents and purposes, it seems reacting to something that could by you. So the payola part, that is the part where I'm like, that is something, if it wasn't still meant to take down. If you realize Drake's payola argument could work towards any artist under UMG, especially Drake, which is why UMG always says that Drake benefited from he's suing them from, as far as them promoting artists and things of that nature, because they basically say that they do business. Drake is claiming that they're going the illegal route of marketing, which is payola. If you don't know, payola is illegal. I don't know if anybody told y'all. I mean, if you're a content creator, like money to play a song, it's not illegal. But if you're on the radio, airways, I believe, and you take money and you play a track on those airwaves, federally owned. iHeart does not own those airwaves, right? If you take money to play on those airwaves, you're caught, you will be punished. I mean, just like UMG was punished back in 2006 when they had to come out of $12 million, right? So anyway, this is a big deal. If Drake ends up winning, I'm pretty sure that Drake's gonna want a little bit more than 12 million, especially for the damages that Not Like Us caused. I mean, it's irreversible at this point, but as long as he can be compensated, I guess that's what him and his team is trying to get. And as far as them continuing that effort of getting compensated from being completely mutilated by Kendrick in the battle, it seems as if the judge on the case is really, as they have agreed to give sensitive documents to Drake's team involving Kendrick's contract, executive compensation details, which is a huge W for Drake's camp. So that being said, click my link tree in my bio. Let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Drake winning the legal battle over you? At the end of the day, what do you think is going to be the outcome of this Drake versus UMG lawsuit? And ultimately, do you think Kendrick will ever put another diss track if